Now, money, that's one of the biggest obstacles. And another thing is people say it takes too much time. So you guys run a big operation there. Everybody following Greg on YouTube, they see maybe 10, 15 minutes of your guys' day. Do you think you can take us through a day, what it's like to work with Greg, and kind of tell us your, what a typical day looks like? I know it's all different, but, what time do you guys start? What time do you guys end, kind of thing?
Yeah, so my alarm goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning. Wake up, relieve myself, go to the kitchen and start making breakfast. And we get around, and we meet down there at 7:30 in the morning down at Greg's house. So we live in a trailer up above Greg's place, and then they live down the driveway. So we were right here on the farm. If anything goes wrong, we're right here if he needs us. And so that's like super huge. So yeah, we get there 7:30. First thing we do is we go to the mob. We call it the mob, which is all the cows, calves, the herd, and we'll move them. Either we'll move them on their paddock, or we'll give them hay, depending on the time of year and everything. That usually takes, it's very dependent, but anywhere from an hour to all morning. So depending on if things go wrong or not, but usually let's say 2 hours, and then maybe by 9 o'clock, 9:30, we'll go and we'll move the sheep. We only move the sheep every other day. But like in the growing season right now, it's a lot less than that. But we still go and check on them every day or two, because we've got a lot of guard dogs in there right now.
We're raising guard dog puppies. Yeah. But anyway.
So we'll go to the sheep, and then usually by the time that they're done, it's like 10 o'clock, 10:30, maybe about 10:30. We're done with the sheep, and right now, so we have the bulls sorted off right now because we're in that period of time where we don't want them breeding, because we'll have winter calves. And so now we've got the bull chores to do too, and so we either move them or give them a bale. And so I would say usually by 10, 11 o'clock, we're usually done with chores. And so then we work on like little projects, or do
set up fence,
like the sawmill, or set up fence, or things like that. And we usually take lunch around noon, 12:30, 1 o'clock, somewhere in there. It's about an hour lunch usually. After lunch, usually we'll have some kind of little project we're doing, whether, like you said, that's temporary fencing around a pond permanent. Like there's a lot of different things we do, obviously, on the farm.
Sometimes, when it was really cold recently, you guys got a ton of snow down in Texas, but we had like negative 25-degree temperature or whatever up here. Mm-hmm. And so like you can't really be outside for a long length of time when it's that cold. And so like, afternoon projects for us, when we were inside, we have a ton of sales that we're working like logistically through this summer. And so it was just coordinating a lot of that stuff on the back end. So sometimes we do computer work, but most of the time we're outside doing stuff.
And then usually around 4 o'clock, we go back out to the cow mob, and we'll, move them again, do chores in the evening. Sometimes it's a little later, sometimes it's a little earlier.
I'd say the range is like we're done anywhere between, at the earliest would be like 4:30, and the latest would probably be like 7:30. Like in the summertime. Obviously in the winter when it gets dark.
We're done by 5.
We're done when it gets dark. But in the summer, especially in the heat of the summer, like it gets, for us, like northern dudes, it was really hot here in the summertime. And so it was like our schedule changed in the summer because the animals don't like moving when it's hot as well. So we'd move them a lot earlier, like an hour earlier, and then we'd move them like an hour later than we usually do. And so we were getting up really early, and then we'd be done really late. But then we had like a 2.5-hour lunch in the middle of the day, like to make up for that like time on the ends. And so, you just sort of restructure it based on the time of year, but that's pretty typical. And then the weekends are different. Greg likes to give us time off on the weekends. So we'll basically just do chores, and then that's it. So we do our 2 hours or whatever in the morning of moving stuff around. And then we're off until about like 4 o'clock when we go and move stuff again. And that's when we get to go get groceries, clean the house, chill out, go fishing, go hiking, whatever kind of like, stuff stuff that we want to do in the middle of the day. But I mean, we're working, 7 days a week. It's just a little bit lighter on the weekends and like full
sometimes
on
it's
for
not.
the
Sometimes we have a full Saturday or a full Sunday, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, if something goes wrong, like we could work,
or
like
if we have
until lunch,
customers come in or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Your chore time between the morning and the evening to move almost 400 cattle, and then what, roughly around 100 and something, 200 sheep.
Yeah, 160.
Right?
Yeah,
about 4 hours total each day. Is that a good approximate?
Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be like a max.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the cattle, it takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think our are like from truck to truck, our guys, in like when we got out of the truck to when we got back in the truck, I think it's like the shortest was like 15 minutes. Yeah. It's probably the fastest it's ever been. And that's moving like 400 head. So, but I mean the longest sometimes we'll be there for hours if something's going wrong, like a calf needs attention or something like that.
But yeah, if you got it set up, which that 15 minutes that he was talking about, that was because we had the paddocks already set up. So all we did, we got there, rolled up the wire, they moved across, and we left.
Yep.
We checked the water, mineral.
You're checking them too. You're keeping an eyeball for anything that looks
and then you're good.
Out of place. But yeah, it's pretty cool because people always say like, oh, it's way too much work to move the cattle twice a day, and it's like it's really not more work. It's just different. You're just readjusting the amount of work you're doing. It's like we don't work any more than a lot of people who raise livestock. It's just we work on different things. Like we're not firing up a tractor and going and like like getting one of those shredders, whatever they're called, like grind up feed for and like go and pour it to the cattle and like that kind of stuff. But we don't have to move them if you do that. But it's like or you could spend that time going and setting up paddocks and then you're actually
enjoying the sunshine and the green grass and the blue skies.
Yeah. So it's not like more or I mean in a lot of respects it's less work, but it's really not more work. It's just
I would say it's less work.
It's just honestly. Adjusted.
Well, working at the sire service, we took care of animals and we had probably 40 head and it took the same amount, which we were doing different things too.
Yeah, it's not a regenerative sire service.
Right. Well, and it's not, we weren't doing beef, we were doing semen, but anyways, I worked harder there, not harder, sometimes longer hours there than we work here just because, baling hay or doing other things like that, like stuff that we don't really focus on here. We do a lot every day, but it's like the same thing every day, and it's a more, I guess, controlled.
And the work schedule is also like adapted to the way that like we run the farm with Greg now. Like when Greg was working 40 hours a week in town, he did not move his animals the same way that he does now. He was just structuring it. I think he was still moving them twice a day, but he had like 5 different herds, but like because he was separating out heifers and bulls and like that whole one herd mentality. He hadn't really gotten to that point yet. But anyway, I mean, he was going out in the dark before in the wintertime to go like move animals, like before he went for work, speed off to work all day, come back, move the animals in the evening. And then when he incorporated sheep, the sheep was, I can only move the sheep on the weekends. That was the only way that he can incorporate sheep when he was still working in town. And now it's every other day. So it's like
on the weekends, he would set up all the paddocks that he'd have for the week, ahead of time, so that
for the cattle,
he just roll up a wire. But if something went wrong, like a cow's having trouble calving or something,
or a tank gets busted or something like that,
it was hard for him.
Yeah, but if you setting it up ahead of time saves a lot of time. But I guess sort of the point I was trying to make is like we do it one way, but you can adjust it to fit your life and like your work schedule. And that's like a hugely important thing, because if you're doing something that's incredibly strenuous on you on a daily basis, you're just going to burn out eventually. So you got to make a schedule that fits your life. And obviously it's better in a lot of respects to be moving your animals more often, but at the end of the day, if you stop moving your animals because you don't like it anymore, that's worse than moving them like every 2 days.
It's better for us if we move the cattle every 30 minutes, but we can't make that work. So there's always something better, but you just got to do what you can and recognize that what you're doing good, even though it's not maybe as
ideal as you would like.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe someday you can get to that ideal that you'd want to be at, but